Alrighty, howdy neighbors, and welcome to our life. Last time we got through step 3, and apparently there's more to do. Here's step 4, he said only... Neither. What's Cove's initiative for step 4? We'll do medium again. And so your days growing up in the loving cradle of Sunset Bird came to an end. In the years that passed since graduation, you moved out of your childhood home and made your way in the world. You. With Cove, his fish, and the pet you picked. And you... going to visit with Cove. Boom. And the fucking do with this. Your family members went through the same kinds of leaps into independence. Liz and Lee both individually earned degrees and started fantastic careers in new towns. But your mom's at Cove's father still lived on the same street as they had all those years ago. It was comforting to you that there were some things that remained in the old neighborhood. Despite the ever-changing reality of your adult life, your friends were still your friends. Though, of course, things weren't exactly the same for them either. Very recently, Terry probably came out as a man, and switched from the spelling of his name that used to be with a Y instead of an I. He also confessed his love for Miranda, which she excitedly reciprocated. They moved in together recently and in the city out past Sunset Bird. One person who did disappear in the shuffle of memories inside your mind was Baxter. Out his vacation at Sunset Bird one year, he was just gone. That was a loss you felt. He had become someone you considered a friend during those days. And then there was what became of the sad little boy you grew up with, Cove. Your deep affection for him was something that continued to last unabated over the years. Hopefully you would commit to each other even more someday. You don't want your relationship to change from what it is. You're engaged, Let's go! Past years are certainly busy. You'll never forget the moment the love you had for one another was let out in the open. Yes, I against the ring signifier. Oh, it's both your rings. The ring Cove looked like. Oh, this is the one that he's wearing? I don't want it to be gold. Change color. Yes! Platinum, silver. Now let's go platinum for that. Done. Truly thrived in his continued efforts of cultivating loving and supportive relationships with his family and friends. His personality had changed, becoming more reserved, though not at all unkind. Cove was a gentle, loyal, considerate man who took the lessons he'd learned over the years to treat people around him with patience and understanding. When Cove eventually developed a picture of the future he wanted to have as an adult, it ended up being a surprise to most based on his past interests. He went to college to study marine biology. So my goal is finding environmental consultation jobs on the side while working at your shared business. Also, he still volunteered at ORCA when his workload allowed it. Cove got a 2-year degree. Good for him. He worked with you in your shared business naturally and worked part-time at ORCA, helping educate the public on ocean conservation and participating in shore restoration efforts. As an adult, Cove also was able to recognize and be diagnosed that he was on the autism spectrum. It was something that hadn't been noticed by his doctors as a child, but he was still the same Cove he always was with you. He was just glad to understand himself better. Clearly to see how happy and successful he'd grown up to be. When a whole life continued its steady beat forward, and you all went with it down the paths you chose. It was strange and wonderful. But no matter how old you got, how far you roamed, or how long you were away, the home you had as Sunset Bird still called you back eventually. Ooh, we got a nice car now? What the heck? The car rumbled on down the highway. You started to zone out when a truck in the left lane loudly zoomed past. Your driver didn't remark on it. Just like anything else this trip, he went back to staring at the window, letting the scenery pass you by. You did appreciate the spacious back seat of your ride. You hadn't known exactly when you would be coming in, so you decided to use the ride app rather than ask your mom to pick you up. Oh, we're using Uber. It had turned out to be a convenient choice. You looked forward to surprising your parents at the door. You smiled at the thought of their faces lighting up. Luckily, this hadn't been that big of a trip for you. You lived close enough to travel hadn't turned to a big production. However, that didn't make the occasion mundane. For once, your moms had decided to have a modest celebration dinner for their anniversary. Unlike when you were growing up and they preferred to not make a big deal out of it, this year they were comfortable having a party. As time went on, they found being the center of attention easier to handle. You're happy to see it. With this going on, there was no way that either you or Liz would miss your mom's anniversary. Both of you made plans to come back home for it. Hearing from Liz about her exact schedule, but you hadn't shared yours either. It reminded you of when you were kids and both knew to show up for dinner, but didn't keep each other in the loop of each other's pre-dinner plans. It was the same concept after all. One thing stayed the same, and yet it was definitely different from when you would see your sister every day, and knew sort of what she was doing anyways from osmosis. Today you had no idea. Things were always changing. You mused on how, at times, it was hard to believe that you didn't live with your parents anymore, and yet you also couldn't imagine going back and living as a kid under their rules. The rest of the drive flew by. Your sailing driver provided a smooth ride. No sharp turns or hard stops jostled you out of your own head. Your thoughts turned from intrusive to observant. The landscape passing became more and more familiar. You frequently recognized the landmarks that dotted the area. A grin from your face passed, and now entering sign for Sunset Bird. Excitement built within you. You're really here. You were doing this. Your driver turned off on a street, and you realized that their map program was taking you the way home that Ma preferred. You usually would have used the other side of the street to pass by the beach. No time at all, the car had gone through the whole town and pulled in front of your mom's condo. The car slowed to a stop and parked. With the buzz of the highway gone, you realized that you could hear a familiar sound of waves. The air smelled like salt, and the rush of childhood memories flooded back. You started to gather your things, humming to yourself once more about how happy your moms would be to see you. After that, you'd notify everyone else that you made the trip safely. You pulled over your suitcase from the other seat and yanked out your bag from down your feet. Tap tap. You startled at the sudden sound of tapping on the glass. It's Cove. He caused you to pause. Did you really hear what you thought you did? You weren't entirely sure because you soon heard something else, the wind of the opposite side of the car rolling down. It confused you, until you put it together that despite the driver's silence, you were actually alone in the car. The driver must have pressed the button. Someone had to be there. You turned your head to face the now open window. Yeah! There he was, leaning his arms across the window. Your fiancé, Cove. Hell yeah. He beamed at you with one of his precious open smiles. Hey, welcome home. I was wondering how long I'd have to stand out here for you to make it. It's been a while, you know. Cove! Son of his name, he burst out laughing and grinned winningly. He then gripped the top of the corridor and pushed half his torso through the opening. It was enough to make the driver break their silence with a sharp hey. Break their silence, sorry. He has long hair now. Cove didn't seem to notice and continued climbing through the window. He pushed one hand down to the middle seat to prop his dangling body up. He used his other hand to caress your cheek as he leaned in as close as he could. Missed you. Covered his hand with yours. Your position didn't quite allow you to hold his hand, but you enjoyed the touch all the same. Meanwhile, he noticed Cove was starting to shake. His balancing act was becoming highly unstable. He saw his arm wobble and wondered if he'd have an accidental head dive onto your bag. I should have expected to see you in your windows. I promise this was unplanned. I know, it still doesn't make a difference. His smile turned awkward as his arm started to bend lower, causing his body to slide downward with it. He turned his head to the driver. Sorry, I'm always causing trouble in this neighborhood. He shifted around some more and squirmed back the way he came. After he successfully pushed off the window and landed on the pavement with a thump, he opened your car door. You threaded your arms through the various straps from your bags and climbed out. Cove took a few long strides around the back of the car and quickly met you on your side. Cove stood in front of you, and it struck you that the two of you were back at Sunset Bird, reunited once again on this street. Hold your hand out for a high five. Clapped his hand softly. You both shared a nice high five of welcoming. Cove grinned goofily. He held out his other hand for another high five, and you obliged him with your own smile. You were really ecstatic, can't read, to be around him again and absolutely thrilled that it was here in this town you were together. Even if it had only been a short time since you'd seen him off, you had still missed Cove greatly. Somehow felt a lot longer. Given your different schedules and travel availabilities, it worked out better for Cove to head to Sunset Bird first. He only arrived the evening before, however, and secured the hotel room. Until now, you had never had to deal with the inconvenience of being in a tourist-heavy area. It was a fight to get a place to stay during the heat of summer vacation season. Living without him at your place was strange. Cove was basically a part of you at this point. You were glad to feel whole again. Oh. You idly shifted your luggage, and then it struck you that you were short one. You got out in a hurry and left it behind. You reached back at the car to pull it out. Cove stood aside as you made a dash for the door. You shouldered the small bag and felt relief that you would be able to brush your teeth tonight. Got everything this time? You stood up straight, everything truly gathered up and out of the car. You gave the backseat one last glance and then nodded. Cove shut the door after you moved out of the way. Two of you stepped off the street to give the driver some room. Cove waved. Sorry again. Driver said nothing and drove off. 5 stars. With the road clear, you let your gaze drift across the neighborhood that you had known forever. It was a small place to spend so many days. You were flooded with memories going up and down the street during every stage of your life. Being a little kid, following your big sister to the playground, becoming a teen and staying out later, and growing to an adult who left their parents' house behind to be independent. You could feel the summer sun on your skin from all the times you headed out to the beach. You saw the same surroundings that you, as a young adult, did when leaving home. It was hard to quantify the amount of history you had here. And now you're back. Despite taking in the neighborhood again, you never lost awareness of Cove's presence. In the corner of your eye, seeing him there was a very familiar sight as well. So many memories included him. Your mind drifted from the neighborhood itself to the person who used to live there. You couldn't help but You couldn't help the feeling of nostalgia. Again, one of these days I'm gonna learn how to read. Still remembered his face, his voice, a scar on his arm from days long gone. It had changed so much since you had first met him. Yet, even with those changes, he was still recognizable. He was familiar like the sky was, in the way you knew the sea. Every day, they may appear different, but there is still an inextricable part of life. There it was, the world, with help from Mr. Holden and his ill-thought $20 bill that brought you together to begin with. But the two of you had chosen each other. I just realized he's wearing the ring! He's wearing it. You decided to nurture your relationship into what it is, into what it was. And you would continue to keep Cove close into all the rest of your adult years. He would love your life, your wonderful fiancé. The day when you would be officially married couldn't come soon enough. He was the one you wanted to keep spending year after year with, as you'd done from years before this. It would be impossible to imagine life without him. Cove noticed you staring at him after a while and smiled with his eyebrows raising in curiosity. He was very transparent in his question if there was something you wanted to say. You shook your head and returned him a soft expression. You would let yourself get carried away in the tide of memories, but now it was time to focus on the present. You sit to your house, your moms were waiting for your arrival still. Cove nodded and then pointed out all your luggage bundled around your legs. Can I help with any of that? I like carrying all my groceries in one go. I could do it.
Fine.
Well, fine. Why you get in the way of your task? You swore to your seriousness at something that was admittedly ridiculous. The bag situation resolved, the two of you strolled over to the Bell residence store. You started to pat your pockets instinctively, only to realize that you no longer carried the key to the house. You in the entryway, a little lost, only to spy the doorbell. The thought of having to ring it felt super weird. As you pressed the inconveniently placed button on the side wall, you remember that no matter how much this place would always be a home to you, it wasn't where you lived. Being back here is like putting on a uniform after you quit the store where you came from. It had remained the same, but your circumstance had changed. Cove shifted to his feet awkwardly, obviously also thrown about you being stuck out here, keyless. Your muffled sounds shuffling from inside. Your heartbeat sped up in anticipation. The door swung open, and it was your mom's smiling face. She immediately brightened at seeing you standing there. Oh, she's so much older. Well, well, well. Mom twisted her head back and gave a shout down the hall. Lonnie, guess who's here? There were more distant noises. No doubt Ma getting up from wherever she was to come see. Her high-spirited words rang out clearly. Hope it's one of my children. Mom snickered, still holding the door half open to hide you for a little longer. Cove flushed as if suddenly realizing that he was going to be present for your mom's enthusiastic welcoming of you. You smiled to reassure him that he wasn't intruding. Mom finally reached the door and peered over Mom's shoulders. Oh, she cut all her hair. It is! Hello, Viola. She gave you a once-over, patting the tops of your shoulders and moving down the sides of your arms before she nodded in satisfaction that you were in one piece.
How sweet.
This is a wonderful surprise. Ma inclined her head over to Cove next, not leaving him out either. Hello, sweetie. You count as one of my kids at this point anyways. I have double the surprise today.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. He grinned quietly. Cove bashfully waved at them. He hadn't relaxed fully, but he had settled down at their welcome. Let's just stand out there. Come on in. Your mom moved aside and held the door open for you, gesturing for you to enter. You stepped into the living room. It was comfortable and cool. Cove was a half step behind you, his eyes on a new painting your moms must have added since the last time you were here. Things were mostly the same, but there were more decorations since you have left the house last. Mom may have gotten the urge for some interior designing again. It struck you odd it was to be the guest, only observing their choices for the living space here, rather than full-time occupant. There are so many more pillows, man. Ma came up in front of you, excitement in her eyes. I'm so glad you're here.
That's fine.
You know, your mom and I would have been happy to pick you up, but you're self-sufficient and responsible. That's okay. It matters that you arrived safely. Mom appeared at her side with a nod. Welcome back, kiddos. You appreciated that your parents respected you as adults, even if Mom still called you kiddo. You figured long ago that you would always be her kiddo, no matter how grown you would be. It was part of the whole parent-child deal with her. Grin. You couldn't help but smile at them. You're just so happy to see your parents. I wanted to surprise you. Aw, well, you succeeded. Your timing was lovely. It's always nice when I'm able to come by. Mom's giggled, pleased. But I hope things are going well for you both. You inspected the beaming faces of your parents. They both appeared to be doing fine. Nothing sorted out for your anniversary yet?
No problem.
We're happy to help if there's something we could do. We're doing plenty fine. It's been a little quiet, but that's not a bad thing. Mom placed her arm on Ma's shoulder and gave her a side hug.
Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about the party. We're just planning to eat at Cyprus? Nothing fancy. Which is kind of funny thing to say when it's a pretty fancy country club. The biggest issue has to be making sure everyone could make it for the day. Speaking of which, Liz will be arriving tonight. We were planning on picking her up later. I guess Liz isn't as grown up as Viola. Mom snickered at her own joke and Ma lightly elbowed her with a barely hidden grin.
Shush.
Shush. As I was saying, we could drop you off wherever you're staying if you don't mind waiting for that. I'm sorry, there's not space for you in the house. It's gotten crowded in those old rooms since you and Liz have moved out. I don't know where all this stuff keeps coming from. You sure don't, Pamela. It's okay. Cove already has a hotel room I'm gonna be staying in anyway. Cove sent you some pictures of the place when he arrived. Stylish and roomy. It seemed very nice. Double room. He claimed that his bed was comfortable, so you had high hopes about your own. Your mom smiled, relieved. Carrie's already here, isn't she? She directed her question at Cove. He bobbed his head a bit to go along with his reply. Yeah, I heard she made it. She'll be staying with Dad while she's in town.
Oh.
Have you gone over to say hello yet? Cove chuckled self-consciously, and this time shook his head. He raised an eyebrow. Once you had figured out he would have taken the chance while you were waiting. Not yet. I should go do that now. I just wanted Viola to be here too. Had your eyes with an adoring smile. Mom laughed at that, no doubt thinking that Cove was sweet but ridiculous.
Nice.
It's nice to know your priorities. Yeah. Cove awkwardly rubbed his arm and shifted at his feet, looking all too much like he did as a kid.
So?
Viola, do you want to come over to my house now? That's a good idea. We won't be leaving until late evening. Okay. Cove perked back up, excited once more. We'll keep an eye on your things while you're out. There's no reason to be carrying all that around. You set your bags down in the living room, tucked into a corner where they couldn't be in the way. Cove helped. Your moms waved the two of you off as you walked back to the entranceway. Thanks, see you soon. You moved back and opened the front door for Cove. With that, you were on your way to see Cove's family next. Your trip put a special pep in Cove's steps as you crossed the street to his dad's house together. Your spirits were equally high. Doing this, you felt like a teen again. You had known Cove's parents for a long time now. when it came to what you called his dad. You switched back to saying Cove's dad. First name basis. With the right time to call him dad. No, let's go with Mr. Holden. Keep it the same. At this point, you couldn't imagine calling him anything else, despite it being formal and rolled off your tongue naturally. For his mom, I called her by first name. She always preferred that, even when you were just a kid. Honestly, I couldn't imagine calling her anything else. Cove hopped up to the front door and didn't bother knocking. She twisted the knob and swung it open. With a grin, Cove gave you a gratified thumbs up. You shook your head in disapproval, but you both knew you hypocritically supported his behavior. Cove went right into his old home. Mr. Holden was there, standing in the kitchen and babysitting a pan on the stove. They switched hairstyles. His head turned to the sound of footsteps and brightened instantly at the sight of you both. Cove matched his enthusiasm instantly. I like his shirt. If there was anyone else, you would have thought he lighting up in a childlike joy over seeing his dad again. But since you knew what Cove was actually like as a kid, you were aware this level of happiness with Mr. Holden was definitely not equivalent to any childhood feelings of his. Dad! Cove! Mr. Holden gracelessly pushed what he was cooking to a different burner and flipped off the heat. He rushed over to you both. Cove flew forward and met him halfway in a hug. Cove squished his eyes shut and held his dad in a tight hug. Mr. Holden smoothingly rubbed his son's back. The more of an adult Cove became, the more he turned into a big daddy's boy, it seemed. I missed you. I missed you too! It was sweet. And the teasing aside, it was wonderful to see them at this place in their relationship after years of struggling to connect. When the hug broke, Mr. Holden hooked an arm around his son's neck. Without a deep laugh. I still can't believe you outgrew me. I really thought I had that on him after he graduated from high school. But then he just had to keep going. Giggling, he shook his fist in mock anger. Cove ducked his head in laughter and kind. Sorry, Dad. Cove's cheeks turned pink and he averted his eyes. He was becoming bashful, so you knew he had more he wanted to say. Cove softly added, but I was raised really well. His dad's expression instantly crumbled with emotion. He sniffled. Cove put an arm around him too and tucked him into a side hug. He observed their little reunion fondly, happy to let them enjoy their moment. They were a perfect pair of sentimentality. Mr. Holden eventually turned his attention to you.
Hey.
Hi, Viola. So great to see you. He pulled away from Cove and approached you with a little wave. He's back to his cheery self. Nice to see you too. Offered him a high five. Raised your hand, knowing that Mr. Holden wouldn't leave you hanging. Exuberant, he slapped your hand without missing a beat. I'm gonna sing your face around here. Thank you. Mr. Holden cleared his throat, pulling attention to himself. He crossed his arms. But before we get carried away, it's not a real reunion yet. Kyra's still in the guest suite. I'll go get her. He eagerly bolted down the hall. You can hear every step he took. It ended in a distinct knock. Kyra, they're here. It was only seconds before you can hear the sound of the door being yanked open. The pounding of feet hitting the wood floor grew even louder this time.
My baby.
My baby! I see you, Cove let out a nervous laugh. His parents entered the living room and Kyra stretched her arms out wide when she swatted you both. Cove went to her, easily. You went into. She pulled you both tightly in her arms. She pulled you tightly in her arms with Cove. It felt squished, but it felt every bit of love Kyra held in her heart for you both. Cove wrapped his free arm around her too. He rested his hand on top of hers and let out a happy sigh. After a moment, Kyra let go and pulled back to get a better look at your faces. She surveyed every inch of them and appeared satisfied. You're both looking well. That's wonderful. And just what I like to see.
Thanks.
Thanks. And hi, Mom. You look great too. One day soon I'll let you in on my secrets. Please do. Kara winked, and you had zero doubts she held precious knowledge to looking her best. She was stunning every time you saw her. I'd be honored. So, how have you been doing? Kara gave a nod for Mr. Holden to go first. Cheerfully, he waved a hand.
No worries.
Same old, same old. Still got the shop, still got my friends and family, of course. And still, the most exciting thing around here is seeing who will rent that one free condo. Incredible. I always knew you were such a snore. They snickered, and you couldn't help but peek at Cove. He rolled his eyes dramatically, drawing out a few giggles from you. But the whole time, there was still a happy smile fixed on his face. For me, things would be good. I've gotten a lot of interesting assignments lately. Oh, I recently went to Seattle, and... Kara twirled a strand of her hair shyly. Her mouth curved into a grin. Whatever she was thinking about, it made her happy. Things are still been going well with the guy from work. But it's a little early to bring him all the way out to California to meet the family. Cove crossed his arms, and his dad nodded. It was clear she appreciated the acceptance from her two boys. Stanley nodded as well. Their identical nods across the board. Kara's grin grew ear to ear before she shook her head in amusement. So that's us. Do you have plans for your first day back? The only thing I have to do is pick up Liz later tonight before we head back to our hotel room.
You're great.
Great. Suddenly looked over his shoulder, his eyebrows pushed together. I'm glad you're here, but I remember that I was in the middle of cooking something. There was a small crackle escape you, while you fought off a giant grin taking over your face. Meanwhile, Cove erupted into laughter that had his dad shaking his head. It's fine, Dad. Go salvage what you can. I think it'd be nice to explore the old neighborhood for a while anyway, since we've got the time. Cove directed the last part to you as he spoke. Told me that you want to go with him. You nodded automatically. You're already looking forward to it. That's a perfect idea.
Makes sense.
I think so too. You should go enjoy the day. I'll hang out here, so I won't be a third wheel. And if anyone's gonna keep an eye on Cliff before he catches the whole kitchen on fire. Mom, you're not a third wheel. Cove stickily stuck his arms against his side like a small child. A small smirk tugged on Kara's mouth, and she winked. You know what I mean. Have a good walk. I'll see you both later. Truly, Mr. Holden waved before he got back to cooking. Cove smiled warmly.
Bye.
Okay, bye. Bye. Cove showed behind you as you walked into the welcoming summer sun. Again, one day we'll learn how to read. He stopped, closing his eyes to stretch his arms in the warm rays. Want a piggyback ride? Cove raised a doubtful eye, assessing you. He smiled apologetically, and you instinctively knew that he wasn't going to take up your offer. His shoulders slumped. That Viola. It was really too big. Okay. Insist. No! Insist! No, he's not gonna do it. What's happening there? None of you had a particular destination in mind, but muscle memory brought you both down familiar paths as you'd walked together a million times. Closing your eyes, you could feel Cove right there next to you. His presence guided you while the sound of waves crashing near the shore, the quiet roar of the water, put an extra bounce in your step. Eventually, you found yourself headed down the road toward the beach. Spirits rose even higher as you strolled across the sand, heading for the shopping district. Arriving, you wove past tourists who were taking the sights for the very first time. Being a local was a badge of honor you wore proudly. You casually walked past shops. Over the years, some had closed, but many of the stalls were still exactly the same as they were when you were little. There was something you had planned on saying, but when Cove's face made you pause. You watched incredulously as Cove's attention laser focused on something in the peripheral. As the two of you went down the stone street, his gaze stayed parallel with what must have been a stationary object. Then his head couldn't turn any further. He stopped in place entirely. Sticking your head out on his side, you were able to see the subject of note that captured his attention. A pretzel stand. And when the silenced puppy dog eyes swung to your face with a cheesy faux wistfulness, Cove whispered a few small words. That could have been us. Oh no. It's not too late, we can still start our own pretzel stand. Really? But I asked my dad about how to get a license for something like that. He knows business. Sounds like a plan. We're following the pretzel plan in no time. Cove chuckled at your willingness to play along. This was a joke that never died. Seriously, do you actually want to get a pretzel? Yes, I do. The one that comes in the little frosting cup? That's right. We shared a fun smile at one another. It's a level of second nature comfort that really doesn't exist anywhere outside of the almost lifelong relationship between you and your former neighbor. Somehow, all you ever had to do was simply be together in the same place and it was special. Cove showed you how strongly he felt the same when he started becoming physically bashful. He plucked up enough nerves to keep the conversation going though. So hey, do you think they'd give me one more of the frosting cups if I had asked? Oh no, Cove, you have to find out. With that, you changed course to the pretzel stand for a snack break. I was very pleased by the morsel he picked, and it was good to see. The sun arced across the sky, and you went down the road as a pair. By the time you returned to the beach, the day was beginning to fade into night. Cove kicked his shoes off and tossed them into the sand. He wanted to get his feet wet in the waves as fast as possible. Or to the water. Intent, you watched Cove wade ankle deep. You could imagine how he was wiggling his toes far into the sand. Cove sighed contentedly. He followed his line of sight at the setting sun, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink. It really feels like summer now. He wore a bent smile as he turned to you, the light illuminating like a halo behind him, and the sight took your breath away. In fact, it's hard to think of anything that feels more perfect for summer than moments like this. Being here at sunset in Sunset Bird with you. Glad we were able to come visit. I do like our living situation now, or just being neighbors, but still. Actually, your gaze fell down to the ground. You drew squiggles in the sand with your foot while your heart fluttered, thinking about what Cove said. It's a wonderful day. You felt elated. You couldn't wait to pick up Liz and be surrounded by your family again. Cove murmured quietly, losing himself in his thoughts again. Shortly after, you saw his hand shoot down to the sand. He stood straight back up with a lopsided smile and got to work brushing the sand off his prize. You knew without a single word, Cove found a new shelf for your collection. As you wandered down the beach, Cove followed at your side in a comfortable silence, your shadows stretching across the sand like they were leading the way. The only noise you could hear is the soft footfalls of your feet and the waves gently rocking into the shore. For a moment in time, it felt like you were there were only the two of you in your own little world. Eventually, the bubble popped and you realized that your phone was going off. It was Ma, hoping that you were going to be back soon. Curious, Cove's eyes slid down to your phone. You let your hand fall back down to your side. You felt the phone pressed against the palm of your hand. It's Mom. She wants to know when we'll be there. Cove scratched the back of his neck and shook his head. His mouth twitched like he had a funny thought. Dang parents. Always trying to make us come home before it gets too dark. There's no escape from curfew as long as we're in this neighborhood. It's like we warped back into being little kids the moment we set foot at the entrance sign. Cove's nose crinkled in fake disgust, and you both burst into a fit of giggles. It's nice to not have to worry about bills again. Sometimes. After one last glance, you put your phone away. Cove gave a small shrug. Ready? Yeah. Let's go. Together you left the beach, feeling the call of home pulling you forward. Both of you ran toward your mom's house, leaving the waves behind, but welcoming the beginning of summer. Cove and you ran up from the beach, sand flying from your steps. Cove made it to the road first, but you managed to catch up to him by the time you reached the house. It wasn't exactly a race, and yet it wasn't not a competition. Both of you were laughing by the time you bumbled through your old front door together. You must have seated in the living room. Their eyes sparkled as they locked onto you and your light dusting of sand.
Hello.
Welcome home. Mom leaned forward, eyebrows raising at your jubilant entrance. Ma sighed wistfully.
Aww.
That brings back memories. Cove chuckled shyly as he scratched the back of his head. Hope we're not too late. Nope, you're just on time. We better start packing it up. Liz will be waiting. Ma nodded as she stood up from her seat. She lightly ran her fingers over her clothes to smooth out the wrinkles. It took you a second to remember where you put your stuff. You need to get it on the car so you can get everything back to your hotel. Can I help? You shrugged and directed him to your bags. With Cove, your mom's, and yourself at the job, it only took one trick to the car to get everything. Cove firmly closed the trunk and you thanked everyone for your assistance. Of course, kiddo. Come along, my family. Let's get in the car. She gave Cove a special look to make it clear that meant him. Cove climbed into the back seat. That was decidedly touched expression on his face. You got in on the other side. When everyone was situated and buckled, the engine started and Ma pulled out onto the street. You couldn't help but feel amused to be stuck at the backseat with Cove, who was driving you around. It really was like you were little kids again. Cove caught you staring at him and gave you a bent smile. He was probably in the same wavelength as you for the sheer mischief of it. There was light chatting on the drive. No one brought up anything too deep. It was mostly sweeping, jokey stories. The entire trip was marked by a hefty sense of anticipation. Everyone was ecstatic to see Liz and hear what she had been up to. As we were nearing the airport, Mom pulled out her phone to call Liz. I'll follow the signs to the correct pickup area and ask for you to shout if you see your sister. Hey Liz, we're at Wing B. There's a blue sign that says North America.
Alright.
Tell her we're right in front of the building with blue windows. She says she's outside, right by a yellow truck. I see at least 3 yellow trucks. I think they're doing work on the airport. Back and forth continued as Ma driving around in a wide circular airport road while Mom attempted to coordinate between her and Liz's location. Aha! We pulled forward, peering out of the front of the car. A tall, poised silhouette pulled a pale purple roll-along suitcase behind her. It was definitely Liz. She opened the car. Ma parked it along the sidewalk next to her. Mom put her phone away with a cheer. Mission accomplished, team. Ma excitedly reached over to grasp Mom's raised hand. Thrilled that both of her kids were back.
Good job.
That's right. Liz came closer and yanked open the back door beside her. She popped her head in the car and her smile ornery despite how tired she appeared. This has been a long trip for her, yet her expression was the same familiar smirk that you had grown up with.
Hey.
Hello, children. I'm back. Well, grandparent who doesn't have any kids. Rude. You shouldn't speak to your elders like that. Poked her cheek. Eyes watched your finger with confusion until you poked her, jaw dropping at your sheer audacity. Liz leaned back out of your reach and booped your nose before you regained your balance and pulled back. Well, hi to you too, kiddo. Hi, sweetie. It's so nice that you're here. Hi, Elizabeth. He jokingly huffed at her. We're not children. Whatever you say, baby boy. He turned her gaze back to Mom and Ma. You really know how to make someone feel appreciated. Her spirits were high. You could tell she was just as happy to be here as everyone was to see her. She left the door open but ducked out to walk around to the back of the car. She opened the trunk and lifted her luggage in. I'm gonna move your junk. I'll keep it in front of my bag so you can get it later. I'm dropping you off first, right? Yeah, but it's not junk, it's important. Just slammed the trunk closed without responding. Liz swung around the open door. Noticed that her hair had a few flyaways, no doubt from a long day of traveling. She leaned at the front of the car, giving you and Cove a significant look. I'm not sitting in the middle. Already had 5 hours of a nightmare of a flight. There's no way I'm getting in between the two of you. I mean, really, who would ever want to be the person pulling Cove Holden and Viola Bell apart? Cove huffed up indignantly, yet again at her classic tease of your relationship. Look at you and along like she didn't notice. I don't care how you decide who's scooting. I figure you could fight it out somehow. But that's over, you shrugged. He unbuckled his seatbelt and moved to the middle. I'm sorry you're always in the middle. Some people just must get their way. It's okay. Growing up, it was normally me and Lizzie putting you in the middle of things. True. Memories. The window seat open, Liz squished herself in the car and shut the door. When everyone was settled, Ma began to pull out.
Let's go.
We're off. Liz crossed her legs, compacting herself slightly. She braced most of her weight on the door behind her instead of sitting up straight. Gave her a little more room. Hopefully we finish the journey. This car is almost as old as we are.
No.
And it's still just as good as you are. Watch what's happening outside the window. Complain definitely means Liz is back. So complains Viola. Mom turned up the radio as Ma merged onto the highway. The station was familiar. An old soundtrack for when she had driven you and Liz around town. Liz bounced in her seat, enjoying the classic tune. The song would be old enough to vote at this point if it was a person. It was hard to believe. Right? It's so hard. With Liz, the conversation livened up despite it getting later and later in the night. She told you all about her week and all the travel preparations she made. By the time she had made it to the actual tale of travel itself, Liz started chuckling. On the plane, Liz had to sit next to a couple of girls who talked a lot about how they could read people. Liz recounted their conversation with her in hilarious detail, as they had apparently tried to guess her occupation after only shaking her hand. Yet the girls could agree on with one another, and Liz had refused to just tell them. However, the drive to your hotel was only so long. Eventually, the group arrived. You yawned and got out of the car when it stopped. Cove clambered out after you. Liz gave a loud sigh of relief with all the extra space she found herself with. You and Cove grabbed the luggage and then waved off your family after you said your goodbyes. After they left, you and Cove went to find your room. You scan the keycard to unlock your hotel room. It sounded a soft beep, and you turned the handle of the door. Okay, so here's the thing. That's the biggest lie that's been said in this game. Those things never work. Not once have I had one that worked the first try. The door creaked open when you craned your head to take a look. You saw 2 queen-size beds on the opposite side of the room, but they're separated with a sleek nightstand. It was a prim, modern-looking space. It seemed clean and smelled faintly like floral air freshener. You have the one near the window. Sure. Thanks. He gave you a winning smile and walked over to his new bed. He flopped onto it and seemed quite comfortable. I got a good hotel, didn't I? The distance that you go for this one looks like your mom's. No, that's not it. Thanks for handling this. No problem. He beamed, glad to have your appreciation. You and Cove continued to chat as you settled in. You unpacked some of your stuff and checked out the room's amenities. Cove pointed out the mini fridge and stared puzzledly over what food could be ordered from the room. However, the fact was you were both exhausted. It didn't take too many yawns before you both changed into your pajamas and called it a day. You found the light switch near the door. It was plastic and cool under your fingertip as you flicked it off. Cove crawled under his covers. From the lingering light, you could make out that he was shoving the bedspread off the side and only keeping the sheet on top of him. You carefully made your own bed in the dark and made yourself comfortable. You had to really use some elbow grease on the tightly tucked sheets to unmake the bed enough to get under them. Eventually you were snug as a bug under the white sheets that smelled faintly like fresh laundry. You rolled to face Cove. He did the same, and the two of you regarded each other in the low light. His smile was bashful as his eyes lingered on you, slowly taking you in. His happiness was sweet and soft. You smiled back. It was nice having Cove here with you. Good night. So, do you know why pigeons are called pigeons when they're actually doves? I would do this so bad. On the bedbugs bite. Cove gave you a jokingly dry expression. He just set out his hand. I did pick this room to be bugless. Cove began to speak again. It was loud enough to hear, but quiet enough that you leaned forward on your mattress to make it out. I can't believe we're really here. You and Liz and everyone else is gonna hear Sunset Bird again. I was staring at all the scenery going by while we were driving here. It honestly felt like we never left. Cove ran a hand down his face. I mean, in some ways it feels like it's been ages and everything's different. Some of it is definitely because I'm staying in a hotel instead of my room at Dad's, but yeah. I don't even know how I feel. Cove nodded. He understood completely. I'm looking. A yawn forced an interruption in his statement. Cove was undeterred. I'm looking forward to this.
See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow. His words were a whisper you just barely heard. It might not even have been that exactly. You might have just been guessing. I've always had a habit of mumbling. It was okay either way. Whether you heard it or only thought you heard, the sentiment was true regardless. Cove would see you tomorrow when you opened his eyes and the sunlight returned to your hometown of Sunset Bird. You comfortably drifted off to sleep and eagerly awaited seeing Cove tomorrow as well. Oh god, it's already morning! It was already the next morning! At the time you opened your eyes. Despite waking up in an unfamiliar bed, you were feeling good. Your eyebrows pushed together in confusion while you sat up. The blanket pulled in your lap, so the sound of water startled you. Yawning, you turned toward Cove's bed. He wasn't there. Glancing in the other direction, you spotted him brushing his teeth in the restroom. He caught you shuffling out of the corner of his eye. He smiled, with the toothbrush still between his teeth. Ew. Gross. Happy, he stretched your You stretched your arms high above your head and then twisted the knot out of your back before getting out of bed. Cove finished up brushing quickly and leaned over the faucet to rinse his mouth out. By the time you had your feet on the floor, he was back to the main area of the hotel room. He took a seat at the end of his bed. Morning. Morning. Standing up, Cove took a few seconds to stretch. He glanced over at you with an animated expression. We're looking forward to your mom's anniversary dinner tonight. It's gonna be fun. I think so too.
I mean,
This whole trip is great, actually. Being here with everybody is like having another chance of Being here with everybody is like having another chance at being a kid. We can do all the stuff we used to do, and all the things we never did but wanted to. So the bird won't know what hit him. So his mouth curved into a bent smile. Tossed a pillow at you, and you caught it. Should I be worried about getting thrown out of town, or worse? Worse? Scolded. Laughing, you squeezed the pillow against your chest. You shook your head. That can't stop us now. Oh, we better get back to it then, huh? You got a pretty full schedule ahead of us for your mom's big day. You're right. After that, you and Cove moved around each other, easily getting dressed and ready for the day. Light laughter and chatter filled the air the entire time. Bags were packed and phones were sought after. Somehow lost a single sock. Cove found it overhead. Shook your head when Cove when he was about to run his hand through his hair instead of brushing it. Picked up his phone and wasn't able to find it. Thanks. He plucked the phone from your hand and slid it into his pocket. He stroked to keep the giggles and Cove raised an eyebrow. What's wrong? I should go past it probably 5 times.
seriously?
Are you serious? Mm-hmm. Groaning, he resumed what he was doing before the phone crisis. When Cove's back was turned, you double-checked that you hadn't misplaced your phone either. You hadn't. There was nothing else stopping either of you now. In minutes, you were hopping into your ride and heading back to the neighborhood. It was another beautiful summer day in Sunset Park. You couldn't resist rolling the window down, so you could absorb it all during the ride. Cove sat across the seat from you, near the opposite window. His case was locked outside. Touching all the old landmarks the vehicle had passed. His spirits rose even higher the moment you made it home once more. Eager, you hopped out of the car and let yourself inside. Your mom knew you were going to be there that morning. The second you made it past the threshold, an excited scream nearly scared you out of your shoes.
Hi!
Ooh, hello, Lee! Viola, you're here, and guess what? I'm here too! While your heart rate settled, Veronica grinned quickly took over your whole face. As your cousin moved out on her own, you noticed that she really found her own groove. She's still the same loving person she'd always been on the inside. She expressed herself in new ways. Leigh was strong, kind, and smart. For the past few years, she graduated college with a degree in history. Though, last you heard, she was pursuing her dreams, working toward getting into the music industry. It's nice to see you. I know. It's been horrible not seeing your face. Feeling she reached out to grasp your cheeks for added emphasis. She leaned to the side to glance past you and meet Cove's eyes. You ran her face and widened while she waved. Hi, Cove. Hi, nice to see you, Lee. I got in practically at dawn. It's a whole thing, but at least I made it alive. I also like Liz's outfit. Lee exhaled and slumped her shoulders to emphasize how exhausting the ordeal was. Behind her, Liz made her way over. She crossed her arms at the scene. I'm here too, in case you were wondering. I always wondered if you're there somewhere. Liz's lip twitched before twisting to a smug smile. She brushed a stray hair out of her face. You make it sound like I'm always following you around. I have a life of my own, if you weren't aware. I know, but when I'm home, I'm always keeping an eye out for my big sister. Old habits. How sweet. I miss the days of checking to see if anyone else made it to the TV first, too. You laughed. Of course, that's what her mind would go to. Another friendly shout rang out in the living room. It was as cheery as it ever was for the many times you heard it over the years. Good morning, family. Your parents both came from the side hall together. Morning.
Well?
Now that everyone's here, we've got a little something to mention. Mom put her hand lovingly over her wife's. Mom leaned her head into Ma's with matching affection. We'll all still be having the dinner tonight, but Pam here actually made plans to take me out to brunch to celebrate our anniversary, just the two of us. Please, she hooked her arm around Ma's waist. Sorry to push you out, but I'm sure this group is of mature grown-ups who will be able to entertain themselves for the afternoon. We don't need to find a babysitter or anything. Totally. Yeah, have fun, moms. Don't worry about it. Enjoy your brunch. This works out, actually. An afternoon open means it's time to meet up with Terry and Randy. Hopefully they're free today. Your two school friends still live around the area. You knew you were coming for your mom's party, but when or how you might arrange to see each other wasn't set in stone.
Sounds good.
Definitely. We should call them.
Alright.
I have some people I'd like to say hi to as well. Liz had her cell phone in hand, ready to get her plans made before she was even done speaking. With an eyebrow, she then directed the next part to Lee. Do you want to come along? You've missed out on a lot of cousin bonding time in the past.
Yeah!
I'd love to. It'd be an honor to hang out with you, Liz. Hope you have fun. Don't worry, fun is my specialty. Chuckling, Liz smirked. We'll try not to have all the fun. Don't get into too much trouble. She shook her head and Liz winked. She then glanced back at her phone and rapidly typed a new text. Excellent, then it's settled. She squeezed her wife's hand. Her gaze took in the whole room, ecstatic to have the house full again. Today's going to be perfect.
Yes.
I think so too. Truly couldn't be happier with my wife, our children, and our whole beautiful family. It's already a wonderful anniversary. There were all the sweet comments from the group gathered around the couple of the hour. Seeing how your moms were, you couldn't help but hope that you got to their age, when you got to their age, that you could be as proud of your life as them. After that, you enthusiastically began setting up plans to meet your friends. They were both able to come see you, and they kept their schedules free for this, and you couldn't wait. He was also speedily sending text messages. Since you conveyed the plans to Terry and Randy, you imagined that he was letting his parents know what he was going to be getting up to. The group continued to chat and catch up until it was time for your mom's brunch and your big meetup with your friends. Soon enough, everyone was out the door looking for their fun-filled day and dinner later that night. And with that, I am going to end the episode here. So, thank you very much for watching, and hopefully, I will see you later.